Yeshkach Dr. Stein for all the shiurim and for taking over. I actually went on to see where you left off exactly, and it looked like a good share. It's in middle of the discussion on Testament Bays. You got to Tiyufta de Rabbi Yochanan b'Tarbayu. We'll go back over that piece by Amar of Malkiai. Amar of Malkiai, Tanachada. A few lines up from there. You see Amar of Malkiai? So what you do is you go to the wide lines, and you go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 lines. Amar of Malki. The word on the line starts the Tzibari. So Amar of Malki would be a new piece. Here we thank Hashem that they're able to learn Torah every day. In the schus of our learning, we should have the base of Mikdash immediately. Okay. So it starts like this. Amar of Malki. Remember we had Gemaras about Rav Malkiyai or Rav Malkiyah. And we had two opinions, and the Gemara would give us a siman, which one was which. Remember that? Anyway, okay. So Rav Malkiyah says, Tanichad, there's one brisa that says, Misalta. Shem chasar kol shebsula. Mishamna. Shem chasar kol shebpasal. Tanyida. Okay, let's take it slow. We have a pasuk that says, the pasuk says, V'kamatz misham malay kumtzai, misalta mishamna, al kol levaynasa. Says that the kohen will stick his hand, take a scoop from its flour and from its oil on all of its frankincense. So the Brisa learns from it. It says, mi salta, from its flour. Brisa says that means you have to take from its flour. If it's missing any of its flour, then it's going to be pasul. It says, mi shamna, from its oil, shimchasa kolshu, then it's going to be pasul. That means it has to be from its oil, which means from all its oil. You take the kaimitz from all its flour. You take the kaimitz from all its oil. If it's missing, it's going to be pasul. Now, what you need to know before this was that we had last week, we had a machlekes Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish regarding if a mincha loses some of its measurement, it's diminished somehow, some gets lost before the kaimitz. Before the kaimitz was taken. Rabbi Yochanan says, don't worry about it. Go fill it up from your house, and it's no problem. And Reish Lakish said, no, it's finished. The kaimitz is finished. Now we have another, and then there was another statement, the machlekes between Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish. Let's say before you burnt the kaimitz, but the shirayim got lost, or got missing. Some of the shirayim, some of the remnant of the mincha got missing. Do you continue and burn the kaimitz, or do you say no? The mincha became pasul. Rabbi Yochanan says, don't worry if it got lost. You can still continue. Basically, Rabbi Yochanan is very lenient about if it gets lost. Whether it was before the kaimitz or whether it's after the kaimitz, still offered the kaimitz. And Reish Lakish says, no, it's finished. It got lost after the kaimitz. You can't burn it. Okay, now, here we have a brisa that says if it's missing, it's a problem. In Tanya Yidach, we have another brisa that says, okay, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to get back into that, back to machlekes. Basically, what's necessary for this is that there's a machlekes. Tanya Yidach, the other brisa says, you take out the word b'aneseres. It says mina mincha. From the mincha, it says prat mincha shechaseri. This is coming to exclude a mincha. You say from the mincha, but not from a mincha that's missing. V'shechasr kaimtza, or a mincha that the kaimitz is missing something. Or if none of the levina got offered up, there's going to be a machlekes how much levina you need to offer up coming up later. So the Gemara says, why do I need 2 sources to tell me that if a mincha is missing, it's a problem? So it must be chad lemincha shechasera kaidem kmitza, v'chad l'shirayim shechas ben kmitza la'aktara, tita de Rabbi Yochanan mitavaya. This is a double punch. To Rabbi Yochanan's opinion, that Rabbi Yochanan says that if the mincha is lacking before the kmitza, he says it's not a problem. You just fill it up and you take it to the kmitza. And over here we're saying that it becomes puzzle, right? Well, here we're saying that it's invalid. And then Rabbi Yochanan also says that if the mincha is missing after the kmitza, the shrine is missing after the kmitza. So he says, don't worry, you still offer the kaimitz. And here we're saying that it's a problem because we have two brises. The brises have to be telling me those two cases. Why do I need two psukim? It's two brises, each one quoting a different pasuk. So it must be a question on Rabbi Yochanan too. The Gemara says, Loi. It's actually not a kasha. It's not a kasha at all. You assume that it was a problem. But it's not. That's an assumption. It's very easy to answer this question. When we said that if a mincha is missing before the kmitza, we said that it's a problem. Rabbi Yochanan agrees it's a problem. But if you fill it up from the house, then it's fine. Rish Lakish said, no, it's a problem. You can't even fill it up from the house. So here that we're saying that it's a problem, we didn't say that you can't fill it up. You can't refill it, top it off with some flour that you had at home and to fill it up. We never said that. We just said that it's a problem. So, okay, Rabbi Yochanan will come in and explain, yeah, I'll tell you what the problem is, that you didn't go to your house and fill it up. But if you would go to your house, it would be fine. So it fits perfectly with Rabbi Yochanan. And B'cha, the other one that we had a question on, Shiraim Shechasr Ben Kmitza L'Aktara, we said that if the remnant of the mincha is lacking before the kaimitz is burnt, we said that Rabbi Yochanan says it's not a problem. The Brisa says it is a problem based on the psukim. It says that just means dafagav demakta kaimitz aleim eisen shrayim masirim la'achila. Rabbi Yochanan never said that you eat it, that mincha, if the shirayim are missing. He just said that you can still take the kaimitz and put it on the mizbeach. Here we're learning that you can't eat it. Because we actually had a question. According to the one that says according to Rabbi Yochanan that says that if the remnant of the mincha is lacking after the kmitza was done, and the one that holds that you're still allowed to offer the kaimitz up in the mizbeach, but what about eating the shirayim? Are you allowed to eat the shirayim? So Amar Ziri, Amar Kra, Ziri says, the pasuk says, "V'neiseres v'lei neiseres min neiseres." You only eat the remnant, but not the remnant of the remnant, which means that this was already lacking. You can't eat it. This would fit clearly with our pasuk, with our brisa. In Rabbi Yana Yamar mincha sheisek far. Now, there's two interpretations in Rabbi Yana in Rashi. One interpretation is that Rabbi Yana is arguing on the first opinion on Ziri. And the other opinion is that Rabbi Yana is saying the same thing, and it's what's called mashmas darshan ekabinai. He's learning it from this pasuk. He's learning it from this pasuk. Whatever the case is, we've resolved the problem on Rabbi Yochanan by saying that even though the Brisa says that you can't eat it, but Rabbi Yochanan never said that you can eat it. Rabbi Yochanan just said that you can offer the kaimitz. Okay.
In the vacuum, did we have the same right hand versus left hand issue?
It came up, but not like it's going to come here. This is going to be a bigger sugya. Yeah. Kamatz b'smal chulu. We learned in the Mishnah that first Mishnah in the parak. No, it's the second Mishnah. On 6, we learned that if it was kamatz b'smal, you did kmitza with the left hand, it becomes pasul. And Ben Beseira said, don't worry, you could do it again. You put it back in and you could redo it. That's Ben Beseira. But the Tanakh says it becomes pasul. The Rashi on the Mishnah says that the Gemara is going to explain how do we know that it's pasul if you use your left hand. Minani mili. From where are these words? They have one of the kids' videos. Like this thing likes when I quote kids' videos. So they have someone. I think this was a Kaduzi, Ichi Kaduzi. That had someone filling out forms to get a permit for a sukkah. I forget exactly what it was, but the guy in the city office. Remember this? Yeah, in the city office. It says you have to fill out your form again because you stapled it on the left side. You know. So then he comes back, fills it out again or something. So he says, "Okay, now it's already after 6 o'clock. You're gonna have to come back tomorrow." One of these. Anyway, that's not what we're dealing with here. There we have very exactly how things are supposed to be done, and you have to use the right hand when it does. Minani mila, where do we know this? Amar Rab Zera. Rab Zera says the Amar Kra. We learned it from a pasuk. It says Vayakrev es mincha vayimale chape mimena. Okay, he brings the mincha and he fills up his palm, his kappa, his palm with it. It says kaf seini diamau. I don't know what when it says this palm. I don't know which hand it is. So I'm going to learn from somewhere else. It says in the purification of the Mitzvah, very detailed purification process, and actually divides it up into if he's wealthy or if he's poor. There's different sacrifices that he could bring. So, but in both of those processes, you have a loig shemen, whether he's wealthy or poor, the Mitzvah, and the kohen takes the loig, he pours it into his left hand, and after he's already done the blood on the Mitzvah's thumb, and he takes the shemen, the oil, and he pours it into his left hand, and with his right hand, he dips his finger in and he sprinkles it 7 times, towards the sanctuary. And then he puts it on the place of the blood that was on the thumb and on the toe. And with the rest of the oil that's in it, it says he puts it on his head. So, I'm sorry, on the Mitzvah's hand. Yeah, I think it says exactly what symbol he makes on the head or whatever, or if he just wipes it, I don't remember. Whatever, okay. So it says that he pours it into his left hand, and with his right hand with his right finger he takes it. Here it says, the kohen takes the lug and he pours it into the hand of the kohen on the left hand. It says, Khan smalas, he's using his left hand over here. We learn like this. Why do you have to say kaf smalas? Because you wanted to tell me that if it says kaf means the palm of the hand. If it would just say kaf, then it would probably mean right hand. If you want to say the left hand, you have to say the left hand, right? Like by the Svardim, if they have a baby. So if it's a girl, they say we had a baby. If it's a boy, then they'll say clearly if it's a boy. You didn't say a boy, then you know what it is. You said a baby, you know it's a girl. So over here, you want to say the left hand, you have to say kaf small. You have to say it's the left hand, otherwise, okay. So this takes us back to when it says "V'yamale kape mimena" by the mincha, by the kaimetz. It's coming to tell me that it's obviously the right hand, because if it would be the left hand, we learned from the Mitzvah that if it's the left hand, it says the left hand. The Gemara says "Vami baile legufei." That can't teach me that everywhere else in the Torah where it says kaf, it means the right hand. It happens to be that over there we're very specific that it needs to be the left hand. But maybe in other places, maybe it doesn't matter. It's not coming to teach me about everywhere else. It's coming to teach about it itself, that it's specific about how he does this in the left hand. Where it says smallest achrin. We have another time that it says the left hand. So the other time would be legufei for itself. Now he's saying again the left hand in the same pasuk. It says the left. You want to say again the left hand. That's coming to tell me that the left hand. It says that when it says the left hand, it means the left hand. Otherwise, it means the right hand. The Gemara asks a question. Maybe it's coming to tell me that if you're being specific about the left hand, and then you tell me again it needs to be the left hand, we have a rule when it comes to limudim that ein miyat achar miyat. If you have an exclusion and then another exclusion, we excluded the right hand, then we again exclude the right hand. Maybe it's a double negative. It's actually coming to include the right hand. Ein miyat achar miyat ela l'rabbis. Where it says, well, smallest achrinik, so we're up to number 3. It says a third time the left hand. I think we're jumping now to the Mitzaira that was the poor one. We started with we're rich one, now we're not the poor one. Rashi tells me which one it is. So it says kan smalas ve'nacher smalas, which means that this is the left hand and the other ones are not the left hand. Ve'ma other abba. How do you know that that's what it's teaching you? Maybe ma kan smalas af ba'almanami smalas. Maybe it's coming to teach you exactly the opposite. Maybe it's coming to tell you that just like over here, it's the left hand when it says kaf. Maybe it's coming to tell you that everywhere it says kaf, it means the left hand. I know it's coming to tell me only here. So it says arba smalas ksivi. So it says 4. The 4 is coming to tell me that I can't learn it from somewhere else, to other places, that it's only here. Trey bani, trey basher, 2 by the poor, 2 by the wealthy. Rashi goes through exactly how this is learned, and it could be a little confusing. We got the point. That's the point. Rashi goes through exactly what each one is doing. Amar le Reb Yirmiyah le Reb Zera. The Gemara is later on going to tell us that Rava doesn't accept this. We'll see. Reb Yirmiyah says to Reb Zera, Al bayin yadei, if you're going to take so seriously. Who was the one that told me this whole thing? It was Reb Zera. Reb Zera is the one that's telling me all the different kaf, all the different smalas that it says. If you're going to take so seriously every time that it says smalas, what it means. So it says, Al bayin yadei hayamanis, Al bayin raglei hayamanis. Diksiv, lamali. You dropped the word Hashem in the Mitzvah Rasha. Why does it need to say that you have to put it on the right thumb and on the right big toe? You're taking the oil and putting it on the right. I know already where you have to place it, because it says you place it on the place of the blood of the Asham, of the guilt offering. So part of the process of the Mitzvah becoming purified is that he has the blood put on his thumb, of the blood of the Asham put on his thumb and on his toe, right? The blood is placed. And then it says that the oil is placed on the same place. So if that was on the right hand, where it says over there, the blood is placed on the right. So where's the oil placed? Also on the right. So why does it have to say you put it on the right hand? I know already where the blood is, so I know where. When you say you put it on the blood, I know where that is. It doesn't have to say hayamanis. What's it coming to teach us? Reb Yirmiyah is asking Reb Zera. Reb Zera was a teacher of Reb Yirmiyah, and he would challenge him, and some of the questions were interesting. Reb Yirmiyah's questions to Reb Zera. Where were they? Reb Zera was a friend of Rabbah. It was like a second, third generation. I don't know. Reb Yirmiyah would be like a generation below that. Yeah. Reb Yirmiyah ends up going to Eretz Yisrael. Reb Zera also went to Eretz Yisrael. And Reb Yirmiyah also went to Eretz Yisrael. So maybe it's in Eretz Yisrael, the conversations, I don't know. It says Rabbi Zera. Maybe it's all in Eretz Yisrael. The Gemara in Nida, which we'll get to Bezos Hashem, has this discussion over there where Reb Yirmiyah asks Reb Zera a question about if a woman gives birth to some sort of fetus that comes out looking like some other creature, and is the woman tummy 7 days or 14 days, and all types of interesting things. But Reb Yirmiyah asked Reb Zera, what happens if a man is Makadesh this, whatever it was, that was born, that was some other creature, it was, came out looking like something else. So the Gemara says, well, it's ridiculous. We weren't talking about that it's going to survive. We're talking about where it doesn't survive, but just the question was about Tumah. So the Gemara says, see how hard Reb Yirmiyah tried to make Reb Zera laugh. Reb Zera was very serious. He held that since the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, he weren't allowed to laugh. So Reb Yirmiyah says, Asal Adam Sheimal Yischek Pino. You're not allowed to laugh. So Reb Yirmiyah tried to always say things anyway. Reb Yirmiyah, this is not a joke, this question. This is a serious question. But why does it say Yadei Aymanis? So it says in parentheses, it's interesting what's going on. Some of the parentheses that we're seeing in this Masechta look like they're notes from a student that was adding them in, like in his own learning. And the Shita Mekubetzes and the Tzayin Kodashim, they take them out. But it looked like in a manuscript that someone was learning, he was just adding these notes. Why? What's it's because it says the Ksiv al Dam Hashem. That's the note that gets added in here, and that's taken out as well. So the Gemara says Chad lahachsher tzdadim v'chad lefsabsidei tzdadim. It says twice the right hand, the right thumb. It says the thumb and then the big toe. So it says twice the word right, as in with an R-I-G-H-T, the right, as opposed to the left. And one is coming to tell me that it's okay if it goes not on the nail, but if it goes on the side of the thumb. But tzidei tzdadim, which would mean the bottom, that would be invalid. Al dam Hashem, when it says al dam Hashem, al makayim dam Hashem. I'm sorry. Al dam Hashem ve'al makayim. You have to add an above over there. Ve'al makayim dam Hashem l'maya. So what is that coming to tell me? It says you put it on the place of the blood. Why do you have to say you put it on the blood? Or why does you have to say you put it on the blood if he's putting on the? Why does you have to put it on the place? Are you putting it on the blood? So it says hani trichino. That's it. That's important because ichas rachman al dam Hashem. If you would say we're talking about the oil of the mitzvah. So we are 10a. Mm-hmm. If you would put it on the blood, if it says you have to put it on the blood of the Hashem, let's say the blood got wiped off by mistake. Would he be allowed to put the oil on the thumb where the blood used to be? So it says, don't worry about that. If it got wiped off, you just have to put it on the place of the blood. Because Rahman al Makayim, so then why does it have to say on the blood? If you only need the place. If it would only say on the place of the blood, I would have thought that maybe you're supposed to wipe it off. If it would just say the place of the blood. But if it's there, I would say that maybe that's an interruption. It will interpose between the oil and the finger. It says you put it on his thumb, and here you have the blood in the middle. Mashmalan. So therefore it says al dam Hashem that you put it on the blood. It's not a chatzitza. If it's wiped off, don't worry, that's al makayim, but it's not a chatzitza if it's there. Amar Rava. Rava says, Miyached ksiv al dama Hashem val makayim dama Hashem, uksiva yemanis bedam, val bayin yad yemanis, val bayin raglay yemanis. It says the right hand, it says you have to put it on the blood. You put the oil on the blood. And then it says, where does the blood go? The blood goes on the right hand. And on the right thumb and on the right toe. Uksiv b'shemen de mitzayra da asher. Uksiv b'shemen de mitzayra asher v'ani lamali. Why does it have to repeat it a second time? This is a general question because the process of the poor man's purification is different, and the sacrifices are different. But regarding the oil, it's the same. Regarding the oil, it's the same. But nevertheless, it says the whole thing over when it comes to the poor man in I'll show it to you, 14, chapter 14. Yeah, so it starts with the process, ritual purification of the Shas Mitzvah at the beginning of 14. The oil steps comes in with slaughters the lamb, places it with the sin offering, takes some of the blood of the so over here there's a 14 something, 1 second. The sacrifices that the rich man does is he does 2 male lambs. One is a guilt offering and one is a burnt offering, an asham and an ayla. 1 female lamb for a chatas, and then he has the flour and the lug of oil. So that's 3 animal sacrifices. 2 male lambs and 1 female lamb. One of the male lambs is the guilt offering. After the guilt offering is done, he takes the blood of the guilt offering and he puts it on his ear and on his right thumb and on his right foot. Then he takes the leg. Okay, now we go to verse 21. It says the offerings of the poor man. If he can't afford, so what does he do? He takes 1 male lamb as a guilt offering. And he has two turtle doves or two young doves, one for a sin offering and one for the burnt offering. So the asham is still there, and the oil is still there, the tenth of an eighth and the oil. So, and it says the same thing. He puts it on the right and then the thing. So the Gemara is asking, the Rav is asking, why does he have to repeat it again by the ani? Ela marava. Rather, based on this question, we're going to retract from what we said before, that it says 4 times the left hand, right? And based on the 4 times the left hand, we learned that only over there is the left, but nowhere else is the left, right? Everywhere else it needs to be the right. Rabbi says no. We're going to retract from all of that. He says, Yad l'kmitza. There's a Gzeira Shava. It says the Yad by the Mitzaira, Yadei Hayamanis, puts on his right hand. And it also says by Yimale Kapai. It's interesting. It doesn't even say the word Yad according to one version in Rashi. We're learning, it doesn't matter. The Yad, one of the Yads is not even, it doesn't even say it. It says Kapai. But there is another version of Rashi where it says Yadei. It says, okay, whatever the case is, the Kmitza, we learn the Kmitza has to be done with the right hand based on this Gezeira Shava from the word Yad from the Mitzaira. Regel Chalitza. The word regel, it says that he puts on his right the oil or the blood on his right foot, big toe of his right foot. That tells us by the chalitza that it says v'cholatz nalei, v'choltza nalei me'al raglei, that she by the chalitza, the woman that the husband passed away, the brother's supposed to marry her, but he doesn't want to marry her, he rejects her. So she pulls off his shoe. Where's that? Which shoe does she pull off? The one that's on the right foot. Where do we know it's the right foot? We learn it from regel. We learn it from the Mitzaira, the right foot of the Mitzaira. I was at a chalitza earlier this month, and the person, the man who was doing the chalitza, when they asked him to walk, so he took a step with his right foot first, and then they took out a ball to kick, and he kicked with the left one. The rabbi does this at a chalitza. He pulls like a tennis ball from his pocket and he rolls it on the floor. He says, "Kick it." See which foot is. Just because he's a righty with his hand, with the way he writes, doesn't mean that that's in soccer that he's a righty, right? And it could be kicks with his left. So I saw chalitza. Oh yeah. So did you remember the ball? Really. So anyway, this person, they had to do a shoe on both. Let's see, she had to do it twice. And because of the suffix of which was he righty or left, whatever the case is, it's supposed to be on the right, which according to this would be the stronger one. Chalutza no alim. They did it twice. She didn't. She took it one each. She took off each one and threw it. Didn't take them both off at the same time. Only answer once, or did they? I think they answered. They answered once. We have a double. They just said, well, no. What it says by the Mitzvah, it says by the Mitzvah. We were learning from the Mitzvah. We're going to learn because it says 4 times. It's coming to tell me that only over there the left hand is used, but not over here. Now we're saying no. We're not learning from the left hand over there. We're learning from the right hand over there. Over there, the Kayan poured the oil into his left hand and says, "Oh, over there it's the left hand. So over here must mean the right." Now we're saying no. Forget where it says the left over there. Now we're saying over there it says the right hand. Over here it says the right hand. We're going to learn the Gzeira Shava, right. Then oizen l'ritzia. Also, there's one other halacha that when the oil was put on the right ear of the Mitzvah, we learn also that the slave that wants to stay for an extra he was already there 6 years, right? So he wants to stay for an extra 44 years, right? So they pierce his ear, bore a hole through his ear, through that which ear? The right ear. We learned from the Mitzvah. Okay. Smallest l'mayasa. What do we do with the left hand that it says? Amar Rav Shisha Breder Ravidi, lifsol yamin the kayan b'mitzayra. Coming to tell me that the kayan can't use his right hand when he pours the oil into his left hand. It's coming to tell me that it has to be very specific. Shloi timer, because you shouldn't say the following. Don't say the following. Ma b'makom shnei nisrabsa small nisrabsa yamin, in places where you're not allowed to use the left hand, but you're allowed to use the right hand. If you're allowed to use the left hand, for sure you could be allowed to use the right hand, right? Well, usually you can't use the left hand, right? Usually it's always the right. Now it's telling me, no, you could use the left. So probably for sure you could use the right. Right? That's the other right. The idach, what about the other one? V'idach, what does that mean, v'idach? V'idach means the other opinion or the other time it mentions it. Smalas diyad, regel yamanis tani l'mayasa. What does your comment say over there, v'idach? What purpose is served by the other left? I don't know. Use it. It doesn't say it has to be the same kind, does it? I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. Okay. So we don't have a Gemara on the Masechta that speaks about Torah. Called the Goyim, Masechta Goyim, but there's no Gemara on that. You have to piece it together from where you find the other. But it's pretty clear in the Mishnayos itself. Okay. So the answer to this is, what do we do with the other things that it mentions here? It says, look at Tana Debei Rabbi Shmuel was taught in the yeshiva of Rabbi Shmuel, Kol Parsha Shenemra V'Nishnas Le'Nishal B'Shul Davar Shenas Chadashba. When you have something that's repeated, you learn from it what you need to learn from it, and there's other things there that are just going to come along because you had to repeat it for the thing that you learned from it, so everything else came along. But it doesn't mean that every single word of that is going to be darshan. That's what Rabbi Shmuel says. Apparently, everyone accepts that, even though I could imagine that the Gemara would say that this would be a machlekes Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva, because Rabbi Shmuel held in other places Dibra Torah Kalashim B'nei Adam. Torah speaks in the language of man, and you can't learn the fact that it says an extra word. And Rabbi Akiva was the opposite. He says, no, you can learn from even every tag and from everything. But anyway, the Gemara says this all the time, and then it doesn't seem like anyone argues. Okay. So let's. Amar Rabba Bar Bachana Amar Rab Shimon ben Lakish. Rabba Bar Bachana says in the name of Rish Lakish, Kol Makom Shenemre Etzbo Kunei Ein El Yimin. Dr. Stein likes this Gemara. Anytime that the Torah says the word etzba, that you have to use a finger, anytime the Torah says the word kahuna, that a kayan does it, everything is always going to be with the right hand. The Samkadaita, we understood originally, etzba kuna bina, that it needs to have both, the etzba and the kuna. It has to say both of them. The kuna bina. Kidiksiv alaka chakayim midam achadas betzbay. Gamar mimitzayir diksiv atavalakainis etzbay emanis. I need the combination of those two words. Tell me the halacha that it needs to be the right hand. If it says the word kayan and it says the word etzba, etzba means finger, and kayan is a kayan. So then it has to be with the right hand. Now, where do we know this from? Because by the chatas it says that the kayan takes with his finger. See, heard the word kayan? Heard the word finger? Okay, so when we learned from the Mitzvah, it says that the kayan dips his finger, his right finger, You heard the word kayan? You heard the word finger? And it says the right finger? Okay. So that tells me that the word, when we're going to find in other places, the word kayan and finger, we're going to learn from the Mitzvah that it needs to be the right one. Where says 1 second. It doesn't say finger by kmitza. Utanan, and we have a mission that says kametz b'smal is possible. We're going back to the topic that we're started with. It says that if you do kmitza with the left hand, it's possible. Why should it be possible if it doesn't say the word etzba? The right hand was only where it says kahuna. Kahuna and etzba. You needed the combination.
Kametz is a finger.
1 second. Now, what about the yad yad? We learned already that it needs to be the right hand from the kmitza. This is Rava. He said yad yad the kmitza. I'm sorry? I don't know.
Kametz is also the name of the fourth finger.
I know, yeah.
That take the place.
I'm saying we're going to get to the fingers. We're going to get to the fingers. Just, I'm asking that Rav over here says that if it says etzbei kuna, it needs to be the right hand. But Rav also said before that I learned the right hand from yad yad. So the Gemara is saying, what about kmitza? So I have a simple teretz. Rav's teretz. We learned yad yad. Let me see your notes. Maybe you can explain. Second. Yeah. It's small, 25. Oh, exactly. It is difficult to see why the Gemara considers this a problem. The requirement of the right hand for Kmitz has its own source, namely Rav's Gzeir Shav, based on the red yad hand. This Gzeir Shav does not contradict, but rather supplements Reish Lakish's Gzeir Shav, which the Kayan Etzba, for explanations of the Gemara Sishit and Mekabetzis and Yad Davids and Kadashim. Okay, I'm happy that I didn't learn it wrong, because they have the same question. Okay. That's good enough for me. For a Daf Yomi Shir. So Amar Rava switches and he says, Oy etzba, oy kahuna. You don't need both. You only need one. And by the Kamitza it says kahuna. Amle Abaya, really? You're going to set yourself up for trouble now, because every time it says the word kayan, then everything in that process needs to be done with the right hand. It says, when it comes to taking, instead of 2 criteria, you only need 1 criteria, either or, right? Either it says kayan or it says espa. It says, but when it comes to walking the limbs of the carbon up to the ramp, Ksivbu kahuna, it says over there kayan does it. It says that the kayan takes everything. It says behikter hamizbecha. And he offers it on the altar. V'amarmar, master taught in a brisa, zuhay lochas ivarim lekevich. This is talking about walking it up. Okay, and it says the word kayan. Utanan, and we have a mission that says a regal shel yamin b'smala beisayir lachutz. Says, how did he walk it up? In his right hand, he has this. In his left hand, he has that. I think he had the head in the right hand or whatever. And whatever the case is, in his left hand, he has the right leg. How could you be allowed to use your left hand? It says the word kayan. And if it says the word kayan, then you have to do everything with the right hand.
I'm going to learn in there. Of course.
Okay. So it says that the place of the skin was sticking out. Okay, whatever the case is, it doesn't matter. Our point here is that he's using the left hand, and it says the word kohen. It says ki amrina noyetz b'kunim b'davar makav kapara. So now we qualify it. We said that whenever it says the word kohen, it means the right hand. It says, oh yes, what about carrying the limbs to the ramp? Over there, you use the left hand. So we say that no, we're only talking about things that are ma'akiv the kapara, which is like things that involve the blood, the sprinkling of the blood. It says very Kabbalah, davar ma'akiv kapara v'kasa bakuna uksiv v'kriva b'nei anakayim asadam zukabal sadam utanan kibu b'small pasal Reb Shimon Machshe. This is not a problem according to the Tanakama, because when it comes to receiving the blood, the Tanakama hold that you have to use the right hand. If you use the left hand, that's invalid. However, there is another opinion, the opinion of Reb Shimon, that says if you catch the blood in the left hand, it's acceptable. Now, if Reb Shimon is signed up to this, holds of this as well, that how do we know the right hand by the for all of these things is because it says kahuna and it says etzba. Now we're saying that even kahuna itself should require this. It turns out that Reb Shimon holds that it doesn't need to be in the right hand, but receiving of the blood, even though receiving of the blood is ma'akev the kapara, and it says the word kayin there. So how's it going to work according to Reb Shimon? The Gemara says, Reb Shimon Kamrit, you're telling me Reb Shimon, you're creating a problem based on his opinion. Reb Shimon Tarti Boy, Reb Shimon actually requires etzba and kahuna. It doesn't say etzba and kahuna, just kayin itself would not require the right hand. So therefore, according to Reb Shimon, it could be the left hand. You asked the question, how is this going to fit with Reb Shimon? The answer is it doesn't fit with Reb Shimon. He doesn't hold of the way we just explained it. Libai Reb Shimon Tarti, does Reb Shimon actually require both kayin and etzba? But Tanya, we have a brayso that says Reb Shimon, I'm komak mishnemar yad ein el yamin, etzba ein el yamin. It says whenever it says the word hand, it means the right hand. Whenever it says finger, it means the right. It doesn't. Reb Shimon doesn't say that it needs to say the word kayin. And you told me that according to Reb Shimon, if it says the word kayin, it's not enough. It needs to say etzba, which we understood to mean that either one is not enough. And now we have a source that says it's not true, that etzba is enough. And etzba tells me the right hand. Marian says etzba lay by kuna by etzba. It doesn't need to say the word kahuna, but it does need to say etzba. If it says kahuna, that doesn't tell me the right hand. It says kayin, doesn't tell me that it needs to be the right hand. It still could be the left hand. But if it says finger or hand, then we know that it needs to be the right hand. So I need one, but I don't need both. Now the question is, so if you need one, but you don't need both, then why do you mean both? The second one is insignificant. It's only one that's required, right? We ask questions like this by the simanim, by the signs of kosher animals. Does any fish that has the scales also has fins? So why does it have to tell me both? Does yagel terviyader? Just to increase you should know that that's another sign, even though I could figure it out with only one. Right. But to increase the Torah, to expound more. The Torah wants everything to be given over very, very clear with every detail. And I don't know about that. Does so many things that are one, so many that are 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, not necessarily. Yeah, but when they don't do the comparisons like that. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How could I think, that Kohen alone would mean right hands when we have all these situations, not just Kabbalah Saddam, but when the Kohen brings the stuff up to the Mizbeach and he throws it or with two hands. I mean, you have a lot of situations where he needs two hands and it's not. So Kohen itself, why would it mean right only?
Right. So, but the Gemara was assuming was that in those places it would specify that he has to use both hands, like it says, but he uses his left hand for the oil, and that those places would specify. But if without any specification, it uses the word kayin, we would assume that would be the right hand. But now we said that no, kayin actually doesn't mean the right hand. You need to have need to have the word finger. Now, this is according to Reb Shimon. What about according to the Tanakama? Kayin itself should be enough, right? Oy etzba ikuna. I mean, that's what we're saying. Kayin itself, unless it specifies clearly, not like that. If only if it's referring to something that's makiv the kapara. That's a qualified set. When it says kayin by something that's makiv the kapara, it needs to be the right. El kayin lamali. So why does it say the word kayin according to Reb Shimon? If you only need one, if only needs etzba. So it says b'kuhunai. The word kayin isn't telling me the right hand. The word kayin is coming to tell me that he has to be wearing his kayin clothing, in uniform. But Zrika, but what about Zrika? Zrika is sprinkling the blood. The likes of Bey Alakuna. Over there it doesn't say that he sprinkles with his right hand or with his right finger. It just says that he sprinkles. And it says the Kayan does it. But what does this mean according to Reb Shimon? That you don't need to have the right hand because it doesn't say Etzba. It just says that he sprinkles. Utanan. And we have a mission that says Zarak Bismal is possible. The Loi Polig Reb Shimon, and Reb Shimon doesn't say anything. According to Reb Shimon, it should say that actually it's kosher, because it only says kahuna, it doesn't say the word etzba. So Zamar Abaya says, the fact that you think that Reb Shimon doesn't argue, that's because you were only looking at the Mishnayos. However, Polig Bebraisa, we have a Braisa where Reb Shimon says that he does argue on this. He says that the Zrika needs to be done with the right hand only. The Tanya was taught in the Brisa, Kibel B'Smal Pasel, Kibel B'Smal Pasel, Reb Shimon Machsher. Reb Shimon allows it. Why does he allow it? 1 second. Why does Reb Shimon allow this again? Because he holds that when it says the word Kayin, it doesn't mean only Kayin. I'm sorry, I said it wrong. When it says the word Kayin, it doesn't mean the right hand. It needs to say Etzba to be the right hand. So Kibel B'Smal is possible, but Reb Shimon says that's acceptable because it doesn't say the word Etzba. Zorak B'Smal, if he sprinkles with the left hand, it's possible. But Reb Shimon Machsher, Reb Shimon says it's kosher because it doesn't say the word Etzba. Well, now we go back. Yad Yad L'Kmitza Lamali. If we have the word Kayin and Etzba, so why do I need Yad Yad L'Kmitza? It's sort of the question that we were asking before. Well, before it's a different question. Before we're asking that I have Yad, we said, how do we know that Kametz B'Smal? We have another source. We could have answered it, but now we said we don't have another source. You see, originally we thought that you needed both Etzba and Kahuna. Not according to Reb Shimon. Originally we thought you need Etzba and Kahuna. We said, so then why the Kmitza is going to be puzzle if it's done with the left hand? It's not Etzba and Kahuna. We asked the question, what do you mean? Because of Yad Yad L'Kmitza. But we didn't answer that answer, Yad Yad L'Kmitza. We answered instead, we said, you don't need Etzba and Kahuna, you only need Etzba or Kahuna. And it says the word Kayin by Kmitza. Now the Gemara goes back and says, so then why do I need Yad Yad L'Kmitza? Why do I need to learn from the Mitzayra if it says Kayin? Mikuna Nafka, I learned it from the word Kayin. So the Gemara says, Chad L'Kaimetz v'Chad L'Kiddush Kaimetz. I don't know about putting the Kaimetz into the vessel. Over there it doesn't say Kahuna. I need to learn Yad Yad. Only the Kaimetz itself I know from Kahuna. Those Rabbah, both Rabbah. So Reb Shimon, like by Kiddush Kaimetz, what about according to Reb Shimon that he doesn't even require the Kaimetz going into a vessel? And the by Kiddush Kaimetz Reb Shimon B'Smalach Shemachshe Yad Yad Rav Lamali. And even according to the one that holds that Reb Shimon does require putting it into a vessel, but he still holds that you could use the left hand. So then, what do I need Yad Yad for the Kmitza if I already know it from the word Kahuna? Now, Reb Shimon doesn't use the word Kahuna. He needs the word Etzba. Let me see what Rashi says. Let me see your notes. 10b2. They're just getting into the. Let's see it further in. I guess, yeah, but okay, we're going to learn it like this because what I'm asking here is the Gemara is saying that why do I need yad yad l'kmitza? I learn everything from kahuna. It says the word kahuna, and it needs to be the right hand. Why do I need to learn from yad yad? And according to Reb Shimon, so we answered that it's for the kiddush kaimetz. For putting the kaimetz into a keli, you have to put it into the keli with the right hand. We said according to Reb Shimon, you don't need to put it into a keli, or even if you do, you don't need the right hand. So what do you need the yad yad for? So I asked, because Reb Shimon doesn't learn from the word kahuna, he only learns from the combination of kahuna and etzba. Yeah. So according to him, you do need yad yad. The answer to my question is not the Gemara asking this. I'm asking on the Gemara. The answer to my question is because Reb Shimon holds that you can do everything with the left hand as well. He doesn't learn from Kuna, but he doesn't need the. So what does he do with the yad? For Reb Shimon, according to Reb Shimon, kamatz b'smol is possible also. Yeah. Okay, 1 second. So let's go a drop further. So the Gemara says, if it's coming to tell me, Ali b'der Reb Shimon, if it's coming to tell me that the kmitza itself, according to Reb Shimon, needs to be with the right hand because he doesn't learn from kahuna, right? So then midir Reb Yehuda b'der Reb Chia nafka. Now the Gemara is accepting that he doesn't learn from kahuna, but the Gemara is saying, but I have another source according to Reb Shimon. I learned it from Reb Yehuda, the son of Reb Chia. Reb Chia was a student of Rebbe. And he had two sons, Rabbi Yehuda and Chizkiah. Right? This was an uncle or cousins of Rav, these two brothers. Anyway, the Rabbi Yehuda, Breder Rab Chia, Rabbi Yehuda, the son of Rab Chia, taught my time with the Rab Shimon. What's the reason for Rab Shimon? Damakra. Pasuk says, "Kedush Kadashim Kachim." The carbon mincha is holy of holies, just like a sin offering, just like a guilt offering. And what does it mean? Why are you doing that comparison? Why are you saying just like a this, just like a that? It says, "But I have to be yad, I have to be yamin kechatas." If you're doing it by hand, that means you don't have to actually do the kmitza. You don't have to put it into a vessel. You can do it. Then you have to burn it with you have to do it with the right hand. But love the bekeli. But if you are going to put it into a vessel, then I have the besmalka asham. Then you can use the left hand, just like by the asham. Which by the asham we actually have the left hand being used in there's the left hand used by the asham. Are we referring to the Mitzayra, by the Mitzayra, where the oil is poured onto the left hand? Okay. So the question is, so why do we need yad yad for Reb Shimon? Because he doesn't hold that the kmitza. He holds that the kmitza needs to be with the right hand, but he has another source for it. Because he learns it from that it's similar to a chatas. Yeah.
Question. When we're talking about the left hand by the oil of the mitzvah, I thought originally that meant just the fact that the left hand was holding the oil from which another Kohen. But the final pouring of the oil afterwards, in other words, after the three. Is that done just directly with the left hand from the kli, or does the Kohen take the kli and pour it himself, or there's no kli, he's just taking out of the left hand and smearing his head.
Just what's in the left hand, because the rest of the oil, I think, belongs to the kohen. It's only the remnant that's in his hand that he puts on his head.
And is he putting it on his head with the left hand or his right hand? Oh, mamish, he's using the left hand.
Oh, actually, I'm not sure. Actually, I'm not sure about that.
Because that makes the difference here.
Yeah, the sprinkling, it says the kohen does with his right hand. It says how he puts it onto his thumb and thing. It doesn't say the right hand. But maybe it should be the same. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. The sprinkling that's done with the oil is done, it says clearly in the pasuk that it's with the right hand.
The initial 3 sprinkles, but what about the final pouring? Is that what
what's left in the jug doesn't get poured?
Not the jug, but the jug poured it into his left hand.
What's in his left hand? I'm not sure.
Okay. Because you can't bring a raya from, if you want to say that, which we just said, that the kamitza could be thrown on the mizbeach with the left hand, then you can bring that raya from Mitzvah. But if it turned out the Mitzvah couldn't use what was in his left hand, had to still scoop it from his right hand, it couldn't be a raya.
What we're saying is that just the fact that it mentions the word left hand by the Mitzvah tells me that in this case we should be able to use the left hand as well. Just the fact that it mentions the word left by the Mitzvah. Yeah. So the Gemara now answers, what do I need yad if I have another source? It's like nitzchel kaimis de minchas chayte. Coming to tell me a specific mincha. Minchas chayte is the mincha of someone that did an aveira, but they can't afford to bring the regular karban, so they're bringing this mincha. It's a salkadait, it's a chatas. Salkadait chamina hayal v'amar Reb Shimon shlayei karban mahuder. Reb Shimon says that why don't they bring any oil together with this, because we don't want it to look beautiful. So therefore, maybe we don't want it to be beautiful. So you should also do it with your left hand. That's not beautiful. So Kamash Malon comes to tell me that yad, no, you have to do it with your right hand. There's one thing about not bringing oil, but that doesn't mean that you do everything with your left hand. You have to use your right hand. Now we learn from yad. Okay. The next piece of the Mishnah said that if the person that's doing kamitza comes up into his hand is a tzrar, is a pebble. He's doing the scoop. He doesn't get a full scoop, because in the place of what he's supposed to be getting, he's getting in the place of the scoop, in the place of the flour and oil that's supposed to be there, is a pebble that's in there. Or garger melech, maybe there's a piece of salt. They're going to salt it, but it's not supposed to be salt on it at this stage. First, they has to do the proper kmitza. Or maybe there was a drop of the frankincense that was there. Umar says, Kolani lamali. Why do I need all of those examples in the Mishnah? It's all the same story. You don't have a full kaimitz. Give me other things. Let's say there was a this and that, or that and that. How many examples do you want to give? So the Gemara says, Shricha, no. It's necessary, each one of those. Ditan, it's rar, if we would only teach a pebble, mishum dlabasa kravi, because pebbles don't belong on the altar. So I could have thought that the reason why it's invalid is because you don't have pebbles there. Aval b'melach the basa kravi, but I know that I'm going to salt it later. So maybe salt, which does go on the altar, maybe I could say that would be acceptable. Ditan melach b'badi mincha mi'ikara. If it would say salt, and I would say, you know why that's invalid? Because the salt is not supposed to be on the mincha yet. It's supposed to come later. You only after, on the way up to the way up the ramp, you put salt on the kmitza, on the kaimitz. Avalavayna, but the frankincense tikva badi mincha mikara. The frankincense was put on the mincha originally. It's kasher. I think that maybe it should be kosher even if it's in there. Kamash Malan comes to tell me that's also invalid. Rashi has a question here. He says, so why don't you just say Levina and I would know everything else? He says, you're right. But you started the other way, so now we have to, build it up. Okay. Because we said that the kaimitz that's missing, or it has too much, is possible. Why are you telling me that the reason why it's invalid is because it's missing or because it has too much? I have another problem. It's an interruption between the kaimetz in your hand. It's like maybe you're wearing gloves. You're not actually wearing a glove, but you have a pebble on your hand when you do the kmitza. So that should be the problem. Not because it's that it's missing from the space. Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah Minatzad. Rabbi Yirmiyah says, if we're talking about a case where the pebble is right at the edge, so it's not even where my hand is, right at the edge. It's right at that little, right over there. It's not even interposing between my hand and the meal because it's right at the edge. Amalei Abaye l'Rava Ketzat Kaimtzin. Abaye says to Rava, how do you do kmitza? Amalei Kedekam Tzienshi. You do kmitza the way you do kmitza. You put your fingers in and you take a scoop. Eisvei, the Gemara says, really, that's what you do. It says Zu Zeres. This is what Dr. Stein was telling us. This finger right here is called the Zeres finger. Zu kmitza. This finger here is called the ring finger. The pinky is called the Zeres. The ring finger is called the kmitza. Zu ama. The middle finger is called the ama. The way you measure an ama is from the elbow to the tip. That is the tallest finger. Zu etzba. The pointing finger. What do we call it? Index finger is called the etzba. That's the classic finger, etzba. And zu gudel. The thumb is called the gudel. So our question is, why did you tell me that this finger here, the ring finger, is called the kmitza, which tells me that that's the one that does the kmitza, when really you told me Abaye said, Rava said that Abaye says to Rava, how do you do kmitza? Rava says that you put in all your fingers, you take a scoop. It's not true, because the pinky isn't supposed to be part of that. So the Gemara says, Allah hashvais. What the Zeres is supposed to do is it evens out the scoop. It makes it smooth. You have to use the thumb like this, use the pinky like this to clean off the edge. Okay. You skip the parentheses. Hey, Chiyavid, how do you do this? Amar Rav Zutra Bartuvia Amarav. Rav Zutra Bartuvia says the name of Rav. We have him sometimes. It's a student of Rav. It says Chayfer Shalish Space of Achmigel Pasyadi V'Kaimitz. You bend the three fingers until you reach the palm, and that's considered the kmitza. Tani Namiyachi was also done in Bryce. Malay Kumtzai takes from the kaimeh. If kaimet's full, Yachim words, maybe if it's bursting out, that's also good. Tamalaimer Bikumtzai, no, it has to be inside. Maybe it needs to be only the tips of the fingers. Tamalaima, the pasuk says, Malaikumtzai, it's a full kaimetz. Okay, so how do you do that? You scoop over the three fingers over to the palm, and you do kmitza. But these two types of fried mincha, Kentucky fried mincha. One is a deep pan, one is a flat pan. Machavas is the flat pan, machesh is the deep pan. So moichik begaydlay malmayla ubeetzpa ktana malmata v'zui avodah kasha shebemikdash. You have to push off the top and push off the bottom with the thumb and with the pinky. And this is the hardest service in the temple. It says zehu v'sulai. This is the hardest one. No, that doesn't say hardest. This is the hard service in the temple. It says this is the only one. You don't have more than that. V'ika malika, but you have others. Malika is quite difficult. V'ika chafina. Also, there's the getting a scoop of the incense into your hand while you're holding it and putting that scoop, the Kohen Gadol has to get to, while he's holding it, he has to scoop it. So he has to use his chin to be able to scoop it out and he has to use both hands to scoop it out and put it into the fire pan when he's in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. That's got to be difficult. Rather, this is one of the difficult services in the temple, not the, but one of the. Amar Rav Papa says, Pshitali, this Gemara here, I'm not sure exactly all of the way the questions are being asked. The article probably has it worked out. It says, Rav Papa says, Pshitali, Malay Kumtzik to the Kamtzian. He says, I know what Kmitza is supposed to be. You have to supposed to take your scoop and put your fingers in. How do you do a scoop? You put your fingers in and, like this, you get out a scoop. But Rav Papa asks, Kamatz brashet spice of mai. Let's say you use the tips of the fingers. Now, you just scoop like off the top, like this. You scoop off the top.
Oh.
Let's say you move your hand back and forth on the flour and oil till it ends up getting into your hand because you keep pushing as you're moving down. Let's say if instead of putting your hand in like this, you put the fingers in. Put the fingers straight down, I guess. You put the fingers straight down.
Why is the kmitza avoda kosher?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't explain that. The kmitza, specifically by the machavas and marcheshes, is avoda kosher because it was already fried. So if it was flour and oil, that would be fine. That's easy. You just take a scoop of flour and oil. It's like a batter. But once it's already fried, then it could get hard. And to be able to get it full, where you won't have any spaces inside, and also you'll be able to crack off what's on the top and what's on the bottom after it's already hardened. That's what's difficult. Yeah. If it would be just the minchas soilas, which was done before it was baked or fried, so then that would be easier. But this is fried already; it's crispy.
Did you let it cool off, or you had to do it while it was hot?
Oh, I don't think it says it has to be hot. Yeah. I don't think it has to be hot. But the problem wasn't the heat. The problem was getting it full and tight. There couldn't be any spaces. They would break it into pieces in order to do this. They would break it up. But to get that, even with the pieces, it was tough. Rashi says they would break it up. You couldn't break it so thin. So it was going to be difficult to get it smooth on both ends. And it shouldn't be lacking either. Okay. How do you do a scoop when you have to do two handfuls? You put your hands in like this and you take the scoop, right? Or maybe it means you put in your hands like this to take the scoop. So, let's say you use the top of your fingers, let's say you use the sides of your hands, so let's say you picked up in this hand some, in this hand some, and then you brought them together. Would that be acceptable? As for the chafina, teiku. Let's say Rav Papa has a question. Let's say you take the kaimitz and you push it onto the side of the vessel. What's the halacha? The side, not the outside. It means the inside, but it's not on the bottom. It's on the inside. Do you need hanacha b'teicha binan? That has to be placed down. It has to be placed inside, and it is inside. I'm sorry, I skipped the line. It doesn't need to be in the vessel, and it is in the vessel. Or it needs to be placed down in the vessel. It's not placed down. you slammed it on the side of it, so it's stuck to the wall of it, but it's not on the bottom. Let's say you turn the vessel over, but that doesn't mean you can't stick you can still take the kaimitz and you put it all inside when it's upside down. You stick it up on the top because it sticks. Right. Hanacha b'teicha binan. Do you need to place it down? You did place it down. It's on the bottom of the pan. Dilma kitikunay binan, or maybe it needs to be straight up. Beleka, it's not straight up. Teku. So we leave this as we don't know the answer to that either.
That's the origin of Gluska Yafa, how they got it up on the ceiling. Right? How they get the cake up on the ceiling. They learned from the Kohen and put the comments up inside the bottom.
Very good.
It's 11A3. Cited. How'd you get the cake up there?
They would have cakes and
I don't know, but you have to cite it.
Dr. Sani, you're referring to those days when they would throw cakes in people's faces?
No, the days where they would take the towels in the bathroom, make them wet, throw them on the ceiling, and then hope no Rav walked in while it was still up there.
Oh yeah, okay. Then I'm familiar with. This is the boys go to the bathroom. They take the paper towels and they fold them up to make them wet, and then they throw it somewhere. And throw it on the ceiling or whatever, and it hangs there until the janitor comes and takes it. Okay.
That's weird. It's really
weird. Boys will be boys. Okay.
And they get it from this? Yeah, they reference this.
Yes, for sure. They got it from the Gemara Menachos. Okay. The Mishnah says, Keteruisa. How does he do this? How does he do the Kmitza? It says, he stretches his fingers over to the palm of his hand. Too much oil. If he adds more oil, not talking about the kaimitz here. If he puts too much oil in the mincha, or he doesn't have enough oil in the mincha, or he doesn't have enough frankincense in the mincha, it's psula, it's possible. Why doesn't it say too much frankincense? The Gemara will have to explain that. What's the case when it says there's too much oil? It's Rabbi Lazar, not Rabbi Lazar. Rabbi Lazar can ship for Shnei Lugin. Talking about a case where, for the way it's supposed to be, is that for every sarin of oil, you bring a lug of. Every sarin of flour, you bring a lug of oil, right? Is that what it says? See in the pasuk.
Case for the 2 loaves for the sake of.
Layla, burnt offerings, baked. So what you do is, over here it doesn't say exactly how much oil he takes. Yeah, in the pasuk I'm saying. He takes flour and he pours oil on it. You must learn from someone else how much it's supposed to be. Okay. So we're talking about where the person does 2 lug instead of 1 lug. So he consecrated 2 lug for his mincha, which he wasn't supposed to. So now his mincha is going to be pasul. The Gemara says, "Look, why do you have to say that? Just say that he added in. Why do you say that he said that he's going to bring a mincha with 2 lug? Why don't you just say that he added in the extra oil? Shemen the chaverta. He added in chulin oil together with the oil that he's bringing. Maybe say that shouldn't invalidate. Yeah. But maybe we could say How do you know that that's possible if you add in extra oil? Maybe we'll answer that and say that case is taka not possible. Maybe you added in extra oil, and so Gemara says, well, there can't be that case because that wouldn't be possible. It's Maskav Marzich Bartuva. This is usually the student of Rav, right? He says, it says you're not allowed to add oil to the carbon mincha of the sin offering. The mincha of the sinner, you don't add oil to it. So what's the case where you can't add oil? Idida, if you consecrated it together with oil, cholesterol, there's no such thing because you don't have oil for that. Either chulin or the chaverta, maybe it was chulin or an oil coming from another mincha. Armet le pasul. He's told me that that doesn't make it invalid. And the parenthesis says, maybe you consecrated oil for it, but since it doesn't have oil, then the oil is chulin. I think that they take that out. See the yud, tevas, nimchach. Okay, you take out those parentheses. Rabbi Lezer, let me boykama. The Gemara answers, Rabbi Lezer wasn't saying what you thought he said. Rabbi Lezer is actually saying exactly the opposite. Rabbi Lezer is saying, not only if you add in that oil that wasn't part of this mincha, whether it's chulin or maybe it's from another mincha, that you'll invalidate this mincha. But even if you consecrated 2 lug for this mincha itself, could have thought maybe it should not be invalid. Rabbi Lazar is saying, Kamash Malan, that it does get invalid. Even if it was meant for this, still you can't add it in. We know later Rabbi Lazar, how does Rabbi Lazar know this? Rabbi says that he had a question on a Mishnah. Why does it say if he increased its oil? Just say increased oil. Even if it was the oil that was meant for this mincha, it's also been invalidated. Go drop further. We'll turn the page. If it's missing from the frankincense, we have a brisa that says that if there's so much that was missing that you don't even have, if there's only 1 piece of frankincense left, then it's invalid. But al shnei karatim ksheira. But if there's 2 pieces left, it's kosher. Div Rabbi Yehuda. That's what Rabbi Yehuda holds. Reb Shimon Omer al karadecha ksheira. That even if there's 1 piece, it's still kosher. Bachas mikan. If that piece itself is broken, then it would be psula. That would be possible. Tanya. Hamatz. Kaimetz ulavaina shechisa kol shu pasul. 1 second. But then you also say that if it's missing anything, it's pasul. Now you told me that it could be missing everything and it's still kosher, as long as there's still 1 piece left. Gemara says, Tani kairet ulavana shechisa kol shu pasul. Not kaimetz ulavaina. Read it as kairet lavaina. 1 piece of lavaina that's missing something. Before we were reading it, the scoop or the lavaina that's missing anything is pasul. No. 1 piece of lavaina that's missing from that piece, it's going to be pasul because you really only need 1 piece. Iba Yasema, I have another pshat. Gemara says, another pshat. Kan the lavaina ba mamincha kan lavaina ba b'fnei atzma. There's 2 types of minchas that would have lavaina in it. One is someone's bringing a mincha. One is a lavaina that's coming on its own. If he's bringing lavaina on its own without a mincha, if he's bringing it together with a mincha, so then it's okay if it's missing up to even if there's 1, as long as there's 1 left, according to Reb Shimon. But if he pledged that he's going to bring lavaina, the kaimitz of lavaina, so then he has to bring a full kaimitz. He can't say that. He can't have less than that. Okay. Let's leave it over here. Have a good week, everyone.
Thank you.